Welcome to Day 17 of our Tactical Explainer. Today we're tearing down the absolute critical differences between private and public IP addresses. IP addresses are basically the postal system of our digital world. Getting a rock-solid grip on these two categories is an absolute must if you're serious about mastering cyber defense and network architecture. Let's jump right in.
Think about this for a second. Every single time you connect to a server or, browse a website or stream a video, data has to flow perfectly back and forth. But here's the catch. It does this without ever exposing your exact internal location to the wild open internet. How is that even possible? Well, here is our flight plan. We're going to map out internal network addresses, move on to internet-facing addresses, hit the key differences, talk about how network address translation bridges that gap, and then finally, we'll look at why all of this matters from a security perspective.
Starting with Section 1, Internal Network Addresses.
Let's begin in the safe zone. A private IP address is basically an address used purely inside local networks. It cannot be accessed directly from the public internet. Think of it like an internal office room number or a phone extension. It gives you a super specific, unique identity within your building so all the devices can talk to each other. But if someone from the outside tries to dial that exact extension directly from their cell phone, it simply won't work. You are safely hidden from the outside world. Based on an engineering standard called RFC 1918, there are 3 specific blocks of numbers reserved exclusively for private use, and they're totally free. They're handed out by your local router. In fact, I'm willing to bet you've seen a 192.168 address on your own computer at some point. Because these aren't routable on the public internet, millions of networks globally can reuse these exact same numbers at the exact same time with zero conflicts. If you look at a typical smart home, you see this in action everywhere. Literally every connected device, your laptop, your tablet, your smart speaker, gets one of these local, hidden private IPs. They use them to safely talk to your central home gateway, completely isolated from the web. Moving right along to Section 2, Internet-Facing Addresses. All right, now we're stepping out of that safe zone and into the global, highly exposed environment of the internet. To actually communicate across this massive network, your connection needs a public IP address. This is a globally unique routing identifier assigned to you by your internet service provider. Going back to our analogy, if a private IP is your office extension, your public IP is the main street address of the entire building. Anyone, anywhere in the world can route mail directly to it. Now, these public IPs generally fall into 2 buckets. First, you have dynamic addresses. These are super common for home networks, and they actually change periodically based on whatever your ISP decides. Then you have static addresses, which are totally fixed. They never change. If you're hosting a permanent web server or a mail server, you absolutely need a static public IP so the rest of the world always knows exactly where to find you.
Section 3, Key Differences. Let's do a quick side-by-side. Just to really lock this in, private IPs are completely restricted to your local area network. They're totally free, and they only need to be unique within your own 4 walls. Public IPs, on the other hand, are globally routable across the entire internet. They're paid for, or effectively leased by ISPs, and they absolutely must be strictly unique worldwide to prevent massive data traffic jams.
Section 4, Network Address Translation.
So, this brings up a massive technical puzzle, right? If your internal devices are hidden away on private IPs, how on earth do they safely reach the outside world to load a web page? That is where Network Address Translation, or NAT, comes in to save the day. See, there are only about 4.3 billion IPv4 addresses. That sounds like a lot, but it's nowhere near enough to give every single device on Earth its own public IP. NAT fixes this by conserving space. It essentially masks an entire local network of dozens or even hundreds of private IPs behind just one single public-facing address.
The way this works is brilliant. When your private device sends a request out to the internet, your NAT router catches it. It looks at its translation table and swaps out your hidden private IP for its own public IP. But here's the real genius part. It tags that outgoing request with a specific port number. So when the data comes rushing back from the website, the router checks that port number, translates it back, and hands the data directly to the exact internal laptop or phone that originally asked for it.
Section 5, The Security Perspective.
Okay, stepping into the shoes of a security analyst, this bridging mechanism is a total goldmine for network defense. Security operations centers actively monitor these public IPs because they actually map to the physical world.
Using IP geolocation dashboards, analysts can trace network requests back to specific regions around the globe. And get this, research shows that over 40% of malicious login attempts originate from just a handful of geographic regions.
By tracking exactly where a public IP originates, defenders get a massive tactical advantage. You can detect unauthorized access instantly. Like if an employee based in Chicago suddenly logs in from halfway across the globe, that's a huge red flag. You can trigger automated alerts, investigate fraud, and set up dynamic block lists to drop malicious traffic from known bad neighborhoods on the internet. And you do all of this before those packets ever get anywhere near your internal private network.
Let's wrap this up. To summarize today's explainer, private IPs handle your secure, free, and isolated internal communications. Public IPs give you that internet-wide reach and global routing. And NAT is the essential bridge that securely ties the two together, translating your traffic so you can browse the web seamlessly.
You now understand the mechanics of the safe zone, but I want to leave you with this thought to end today's explainer. While NAT does a great job protecting your internal device identity, what does your public IP footprint actively reveal to the rest of the world about your physical location and network habits? Keep your shields up, and we'll see you in the next explainer.